we've turned Business Tip Tuesday into Business Tip Wednesday. And that's what happens when we are doing so many sessions at the same time. So we're here with you today. We want to make sure that we shed some light on the topic of employment. So Prem, have you ever been an employee?
Oh yes, I've been employed. My employment started from school. Just after school, I came out of school and worked in family business. But one of the things that when I think about employment, the thing is with what we teach, employment has a lot of learning. That is the main the thing that comes to mind when we think of employees and employment. This is the stage where we eventually start our learning to be able to get into business.
What you're telling me is that before you became an employee, you were a student. And as a student, to some extent, especially those of us who might have to pay for education, we actually, in this case here, you paid to learn. And that's basically what you were doing as a student. You're actually, it's not even paid to learn. Right? It is that you're paying to learn. Right? You are actually paying the school to learn some stuff. And when you transitioned into being an employee, what you really need to understand is that as an employee, that is when you actually get paid to learn. A little bit of advice: if someone gave you a job, you went through the interview, make sure that you thank them for the opportunity, right? And understand that when you receive a job, that is not the end of the world. It's sometimes see people graduating from school or graduating from a class and celebrating, not realizing that that's when the work starts.
Yep.
Right? When you get a job as well, that's when the work starts. That's not where it ends. Now, to be a really good employee, you do need to understand what your responsibilities are, and you need to continuously upgrade your level of skill. So what are some ways in which you have been, when you were an employee, that you worked on upgrading your skills? What did you do?
Well, in the family business, it is the experiences that you have, and that is how I got the skills that I acquired. And this is through sales. This is through actually going on the floor and actually doing sales. I learned a bit about numbers and the reports that is needed in a business.
So you actually have to do the work.
Yeah,
right?
It's the experiences.
You have to do the work. When you are in student mode, it is so easy for you to get the knowledge. Right? But you know what they say, if knowledge was all it took, we would all be billionaires by now. It's very important that you learn the work and then do the work so that you can actually develop the skills. And the bulk of us do move on from being a student. So all of us will almost move on from here to here one day. Right? So if we started off with 100% here, it's most likely, and I think in our country it is 89% of us will actually end up, those of us who could be employed, 89% of us will actually be employed. Youth unemployment, of course, is higher, but general unemployment, I think it usually ranges between 11 to 12%, which means that employment is between 88 to 89%. What generally then happens is that we are this fantastic employee, and what happens if the company doesn't recognize you for being a fantastic employee? What starts happening in your mind?
When a company does not recognize me as a fantastic employee, you eventually get demotivated. You get discouraged, and you're not putting your best effort. You're just putting in just enough to be able just to be accepted. And I eventually, from my experience, you tend to have busy work. You seem to be busy, or you appear to be busy, but how productive you are, that's another question. So
now, what we found as well is that people usually become self-employed when they start thinking, well, I'm working for an idiot. this idiot doesn't really understand my value, and I think I can do it so much better. And then we start really hustling now as a self-employed portion. And what we basically do there now is we ask people to kind of provide us with money for the things we say we can do, right? Because that's what happens as a self-employed portion. And what I've also found is maybe up to 10% might actually make the jump and test out self-employment in one way or the other. They might still be working, but they're doing something on the side. And the statistic on this, the very frightening statistic on this, is that 80% of the people who try this actually end up failing within 5 years. And the even more frightening statistic is of the 20% that remains, within 5 years, another 80% of them fail. So really leaving you with just about 10%. Now, when you're self-employed, it does feel like a little bit of a seesaw, right? You got to run behind the work, then you got to do the work. Run behind the work, do the work. Run behind the work, do the work. And again, maybe that is where we really start distinguishing. Is there something really unique? I sat with someone yesterday who's an employee, and she wanted to do some businesses, actually doing a few businesses, but when we sat and we analyzed it, there's nothing unique about it. One of it is selling things that everybody else brings in as well, so it's very price dependent. And the other one is very seasonal, and she knows at least 50 other people doing it. Right? So before you move from here to here, it is important that you have some advantages.
Something that is unique.
So what do we call it?
That is our unique selling proposition. This is something that you do, or you have, or your expertise that is different, that is unique to yourself, that is that can't easily be copied, right? And that is what gives you that advantage to be able to push forward and be successful at this level.
And again, if you know anyone who needs to understand how to move through the different levels, share this video with them. If they need to understand it a little bit better, if they really need some help, let them reach out. If it's you, reach out, and we'll do our best to help you with that. If we are successful, and this is usually where the other 20%, the other 10 to 20% that are remaining end up, they now are in a position where they can actually start employing people. Right? So they start managing other people. And they can't generally do the work themselves anymore. Right? And if they try to, what usually happens is that they become a one-man show again, or a one-woman show. Because every time they hire an employee, they move the employee aside and say, no, you can't do it as good as me, let me do it. And eventually they have to either keep them as spare wheels or fired. And then they go back. So you have a lot of people who, they alternate. They become a manager of people, and then they fire all, or they all leave, and then they become back self-employed. Right? So this is more, and if you see the drawing as well, it starts looking like a merry-go-round, right? A merry-go-round, because people in the thing, people out the thing, people in the thing, people out the thing. So getting into a manager, to really succeed here, you need to learn how to transfer skills to people, and that each one of the people joining your organization is better at the thing they were hired for than you are. Right? So Nazim, who is our IT, and he's behind the camera, he's better than me at storefront and at websites and at a ton of other things. Right? Prem, who is standing across from me, AccuMatch coach as well, is better than me than identifying things on the map. Right? And he's getting better every day. I see him putting in the work. Right? So if he wasn't putting in the work, then I have to expect that I'll always be, the best AccuMatch coach. So that is when you can become a manager, when you can actually have other people around you get better all the time, so that they can help the organization grow.
Another point to note here as a manager, tell me if perhaps, or you can comment, if perhaps you've experienced this. This is the firefighting stage. This is where there's a problem, you run and go fix it. Yeah? Yeah. So if perhaps you've experienced this, if you experience this in your business, this is the level now where you're at. And we have to be able to come out of that stage now to be able now to actually move to the other.
Yeah. And the owners of businesses are actually, when you graduate out of the business, you're no longer needed in the business. If you wanted to, yes, you could show up. But now you can actually walk away because someone else is installed as a manager and you can actually own the business. So you can actually benefit from the income of the business. And I've generally found that of the 89 that we started off up here, maybe 3% ends up becoming an owner. Some people are happy with that. They have a single stream of income and that works well for them. People with much larger goals, and sometimes it could be larger goals. Sometimes it could also be that they're really innovative and they like going after ideas. They love being able to invest. They then take their profits and they start plugging it into other investments. And always remember, for when it comes to investments, the best investments are actually other businesses, high margin, high volume kind of businesses, followed by businesses, then real estate, and then things like bonds and shares and stocks. Right? Here it takes a lot of effort, lot of reward if you make the effort. Right? Always remember, return comes after the investment. Right? Some of us are sitting waiting for the return and we never ever made the investment. The lower down you go, so this is more effort, this is less effort, but lower reward as well. Right? Because with businesses, it's not unlikely that you can get 80 to 100% return if it's a really good business. Here it's in the 3 to 5%. And that's when you're an investor.
A point to note too is that when we come all the way down and we're at this level, be careful not to fall into this trap thinking that, I will just work to be a business owner, and really what I'm doing is just creating a job for myself. And you're stuck here. Yeah?
With the investor, you basically make money with money. And generally with your money. What we then would want is that you actually get up to the entrepreneur level, and this is by our definition. I sometimes this is my specialty, and I generally don't like it when people call, there's a loose definition of entrepreneurship that says starting a business makes you an entrepreneur. There is the academic version of entrepreneurship, which says bringing innovative solutions that add value to the market as a definition for entrepreneur. I go by that particular definition because money, all that money really is an idea that is in your head that you have enough confidence in that you finally take action on. Right? And we'll talk about that in another video because all the money you ever need is in your brain. And we got to figure out how to get it out there. But at the entrepreneur level, you make money with ideas. And that would be, I find that generally, this drops to another maybe 1%, and then this is a fraction, right? This is a fraction of a percent that you actually end up with people ending up at the entrepreneur level where they really do generate massive amounts of income using their ideas. Mm-hmm. But remember to go down the ladder. I wouldn't recommend skipping any steps. I don't know anyone who has successfully skipped the steps that are listed here. So make sure that you do the work and understand as well that the bulk of us will stay here. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with being an employee. If you are a good employee delivering fantastic value, it's either that the company recognizes it, rewards you for that, make sure that you have a good environment. And if the company doesn't, someone else will see that you do. If you are not being a fantastic employee delivering great value, you are most likely the one who's holding yourself back because the organization is looking at you. Someone is looking at you thinking, this one really can't make it. This person always comes in here and does the bare minimum. Anybody else looking from the outside is looking and thinking, I better stay away from this portion here because they do the bare minimum. Even when you apply elsewhere, and they ask you, well, what have you done? There's nothing much to say because you always did the bare minimum. So my message here to you today is to make sure that since we know the bulk of us will be in this bucket over here, do the best you can. And the nice thing is with the demand coming to Guyana, there will be demand for highly skilled, highly professional, highly committed people. So put yourself in that bucket so that you can really benefit from a fantastic future.
From my perspective, if you don't learn anything here, what I want you to take away from my perspective is this. Because at each level here, there is learning, and that is where the work comes in. Because we can't jump from student or employee to entrepreneur. There's a lot of learning at each level that you need to be able to develop for yourself, so that you can become the entrepreneur that you really want. And it takes time. That's what it takes. It takes time.
Could take a lifetime, and if you wanted to go much faster, talk to Coach Prem. Put a big 1% here. I don't compete with anyone. I compete with me from yesterday, and my goal every single day is to get 1% better than I was yesterday. That's my goal. I know that cumulatively, every 70 days, I'm twice as good. And that makes me very happy, and I also know that it makes the people around me very happy because they get the benefit from the results. And I can't be telling you to do something and I'm not doing it myself. So if you're advising people, if you're caring for people, if you're leading people, if you're supporting people, make sure that whatever you're asking them to do, you're willing to do it yourself first. Yeah. So this is your business tip, extended Tuesday.
Extended Tuesday.
Yeah, so kind of dragging Tuesday along. And share it with people around you so that they can also benefit from this kind of knowledge.
Yes, please do.
Take care.